Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Key Communication Tips in 30 Minutes. Today's presenter is Antoinette Joy. For your convenience, the slide deck for today's presentation will be available on the CPSHR Consulting website. Please visit us at cpshr.us to download. This session is also being recorded. We will post a link to the recording on the same page of our website as soon as it is available. In order to ensure a high-quality recording, attendees are encouraged to mute your mics. If you have questions for them, for Antoinette, please enter them in the Q&A panel or chat panels on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll address the questions at the end of the presentation as time allows. And now, let's get started.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Key Communication Tips in 30 Minutes. CPS HR Consulting has been putting on these free webinars for a while now, and we appreciate you all joining us, and it's a great opportunity to get some insight into what we provide. And so this 30 minutes is based on a day-long class that is titled Support Staff Training, Maximizing Success. And the class, it has a primary focus and design around customer service. So these 30 minutes are originally designed to give us some tips on communication within a customer service session. However, communication is communication. And so everything that I'm going to talk about this morning is transferable to any communication you're going to have, whether it's with peers, your boss, your employees, family members, friends. So these are great topics regardless of how you use them. So I would encourage you to be reflecting on that as we go through the content and asking yourself how you might be able to use this information beyond customer service. So that is my recommendation. So the agenda, communication tips for outstanding customer service. I'm going to highlight two components. And the first one is asking the right questions. And then the second one is listening with focus. So under asking the right questions, I'm going to introduce you to the idea of the funnel effect in terms of questions, and then also TED questions. And that is not related to TED Talks. I know whenever we see TED in capital letters, our first thought is probably TED Talks, and that's not what we're talking about here. It's a different, whole different idea. And then the second idea that we're going to focus on is listening. So, and specifically listening with focus. And we're going to talk about the idea of incorporating an emotional audit and then using what we're going to call the 3 R's. And what I think is foundational for any type of communication, including customer service, is being able to tap into our emotional intelligence, which is what this class focuses on as well. And so we all know with emotional intelligence, it includes self-awareness. And I think there we want to be practicing being authentic. Emotional intelligence is about self-management, which I think is about adaptability. And we also have self-awareness, which is how we impact others, aka customer service. And then the last component of emotional intelligence is relationship management, which is collaboration. So I don't think we can do customer service even at any level without utilizing our emotional intelligence skills. So what is our definition that we're basing all this on today? So this is a definition that I really like in terms of customer service. Again, you can use this in a lot of different customer or communication sessions. So customer service is the act of supporting customers in their discovery, I love that word, use, optimization, and troubleshooting of a product or service. And when we're working in organizations, I think every single one of us has an element of customer service to our jobs. And so many of us provide a service. Sometimes it's to a peer and we're a team member. Sometimes it's to internal customers or external customers. But I think all of us have customer service responsibilities in our roles. So what does good customer service look like? How do we know when we are receiving good customer service? So go ahead if you want to use the chat box and throw out some ideas. How do you know when you're satisfied that you've given customer service or that you've been on the receiving end of customer service? What does it look like? See if anybody wants to throw out some thoughts there. So while you all are thinking and typing, I'm going to throw out the idea that customer service, good communication is based on the platinum rule. And there is an author, Dave Kirpin. He is a New York Times bestseller author, and he wrote a book called Likeable Local. And in there, he references and talks about the fact that the platinum rule is also the foundation of premier customer service. And so the platinum rule, right, is different than the golden rule. The platinum rule is do unto others as they would want done to them. So it's all about the customer, right? What are their needs? What do they need? He also talks about 3 common qualities that customers appreciate. And we'll see if you agree with these. 3 most common qualities that customers appreciate. Number 1, that the person helping them is a solutionist. Makes sense. Number 2, that they are genuine, that they actually care about the customer. And then number 3 is that they have both follow up and follow through. And really the idea that there is no such thing as over communicating. So super, super quick, just because I'll reference this a couple of times. I know we all have a story. I had a poor customer service experience very recently. And how I concluded that it was poor customer service is I felt that my time was wasted. It was frustrating. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel valued. And I was actually made to feel wrong. So like the opposite of all customer service stuff. And quick reference, it was a grocery store. A product was labeled incorrectly. I was rung up incorrectly because the product price was not what I paid. Came back to get it resolved, and the manager spent most of the time explaining how it actually technically was correct. Had I read the label, I would have realized it was wrong, regardless of the placement. So it was my fault as a customer for not reading the label, regardless of the fact that it was right next to the product. The solution was took a couple dollars off, but didn't honor the price that actually is what it was posted, what we thought it was. So he also proceeded to laugh at the idea that we thought the price really was as low as it was, even though this was a discount grocery store, and that's really how they market themselves. So many things wrong with that scenario. All right, so how do we fix that? How do we make sure that we aren't leaving our customers feeling frustrated and not heard and not valued? So number 1, we need to be asking the right questions. And so 2 tools to help you with that. We've got the funnel effect, and we have TED questions to help us with that. So the funnel effect, this is a really good just general structure for communication. You're going to start with open-ended questions. You're going to probe to make sure you're gathering information and you ensure that you have the correct facts. And then you're going to close with an appropriate resolution and reference to what has been accomplished, and to make sure you really did meet the customer's needs. So this is what it might look like. The opening statement could look something like, how can I help you? What are you looking for? And why are you unhappy with our service? So really nice open-ended questions for you to invite the customer or whoever you're talking with to share information. Then we move into the probe questions. And our probe questions could look like, could you give me an example of what you mean? How long has this been an issue? What happened when you tried to use the product or use our service? So digging in to get a little bit more information. And then the close. Let's make sure we've actually met our customers' needs. So has your issue been resolved? Did you receive good customer service? Anything else I can help you with? Now, we want to be careful and not be rigid. Even though this is a good structure, you may need to ask a closed question after an open question just for confirmation, and then go back to the structure. But this is a nice guideline to help us stay focused and help us get through the conversation in a concise way. Our next tool are TED questions, not TED Talks, TED questions. And so this is going to help us with that second element of our funnel. And the second element there was the probing questions. And this can be really helpful. TED can really be helpful when you're dealing with maybe more complex issues, maybe emotions are high, there's confusion, clarity is needed. This is going to help you gather more information and pinpoint the relevant core issues. Help us really get to the core of the problem so we can ensure that we're going to come up with an appropriate resolution. And by using TED, what it's also helping us do is get answers. The way the questions are written is it ensures that we're going to get answers that we need from the customer without really them knowing that we're probing, right? It's going to come across as a very casual conversation, but it's going to show that we're interested. So T stands for tell. We want them to tell us the story. We need to understand the big picture. So tell me, what was your main motivation for calling, emailing, asking, coming to our department for help today? What is your story? What is it that you are trying to accomplish? The E is our impact. So how has this situation impacted you? And if we're dealing with a difficult situation, it's probably had a negative impact in some way. So tell me how this has impacted you, your business, the bottom line. How, if we're talking with peers, right? How has this impacted your trust and credibility in me? If you're talking with employees, right? How has this maybe new process impacted your productivity, right? So again, these questions and communication tips can be used in a lot of different settings. And then the next one, D, is describe. Describe your ideal outcome. What do you want? What, if I met your needs today, what might that look like? And that's, well, you tell me, why might these questions be helpful? Why might asking these questions, getting this information, how might that help you with a communication session? Any thoughts on the value? So what I think the value is especially that last question, is it's really going to help us, it's going to give us some guidance to a proper resolution. So we aren't guessing and we aren't making assumptions and we aren't just kind of fishing for, I'll try this and see if it works, and then I'll try that and see if it works, which only causes frustration, right, and waste time. So it gives us guidance, and it helps us understand exactly what is going to meet their needs. So it really makes our jobs easier, right? And it makes sure we aren't going to miss the mark. And I really like your comment, Tommy, that yeah, you're going to feel heard, right? I am specifically asking you to share your story, how it's impacted you, and your ideal outcome. Really simple. This doesn't have to be a long and complicated and drawn out conversation. And it really gets to the point and helps me resolve the issue, whatever it may be. Okay. Tip number 2, our second agenda item, all about listening. Listening is a skill. Listening is something we can improve, but it takes practice. And we can ask all the right questions and all the probing questions and start with an open, end with a close, be really articulate, but that's only half of the equation. If we aren't then listening with focus, we are not going to be successful with outstanding customer service or successful in having an effective conversation with another individual. Listening is a big component of emotional intelligence, and every quadrant, right, every one of those 4 areas of emotional intelligence requires listening. So it takes practice. So I'm going to introduce to you this idea of an emotional audit. and then also this idea of the 3 R's. So, listening, what is it? It is an action, right? It's different than hearing. Hearing is just noise that is around and that, penetrates your ears, right? Listening is an action, and it requires us to make meaning of something that we hear, which means it's an active process, not passive. And I think that's really important to reflect on. And when we are in customer service positions or we are in the service of somebody, to remember that it takes effort and it takes commitment, and it doesn't just happen. So we're listening for what is being said and also what is not being said. So an example, and a friend of mine, works in customer service positions, and he had this exact scenario, but he found that when calls were coming in, people were calling, it actually was in regards to getting information about COVID vaccines and asking questions. And most of the folks who were responding with, go to the website. Yep, go to the website. It's on the website. The link is on the website. But these calls were continuously coming in. So it's one thing to answer the question, where do I get the information? The answer is on the website. It's another thing to realize, is there a problem, right? We're getting so many questions about this. Is there an issue navigating the website? And would it be helpful to look at the website, and maybe we need to take it a step further and fix the navigation or make it more clear? And when we're responding to these customers, maybe we can be a little bit more detailed, that you're going to go to the link in the upper right-hand corner. It's highlighted in blue. Once you hit that link, you're going to get a drop-down box, and you need to type in whatever, your zip code. So taking it to the next step and listening for what's not being said, so we can raise the bar and really be effective in resolving our customers' issues and meeting their needs. So in my listening class, we watch a TED Talk called The Power of Deliberate Listening. And there's 2 really good takeaways from that TED Talk. The first one is that best listeners don't need to be blank. What do you think that word might be? What do we not want to be and not focus on when we're listening with focus? Any guesses on what you think that might be? It's pretty hard just to pull it out of thin air, but the best listeners don't need to be right. Right? We don't need to be right. And that, I think, gets in the way a lot of times. We're so focused. If we go back to my grocery store situation, right? The manager was so focused on explaining how they were right. They had the right price tag. It just was in the wrong place. So he's ignoring that part, and he's saying technically it was right, because the price you're looking at, if you read the little tiny print, you would realize it didn't match the product that you bought. That is not helpful, right? Not helpful at all. The second takeaway, we need to suspend blank if we want to be good listeners. Any guesses on what you think that second blank is? We have to suspend blank. Yes, awesome, Linda. Excellent. We have to suspend judgment if we want to be good listeners. So it's not about us. It's about the customer or the person we're talking to. And we want to stay curious. And if there's anything you walk away from in this 30 minutes, I hope it's that if we are going to be effective communicators and we're going to be effective listeners, we have to stay in that zone of curiosity. And that's going to ensure the open probe close. That's going to ensure good TED questions, because we truly are authentically wanting to understand the situation. And then we will come in and come up with an appropriate resolution and respond. And when we respond, We want to make sure that we are being professional, we're being patient, and we're being people first. So I think we all grew up with the saying, or many of us grew up with the saying, mind your P's and Q's. So this is all about minding our P's. There's no Q here, but minding our P's, right? Be professional, be patient, and be people first. And that aligns perfectly with those 3 common qualities that customers want, right? Remember what those were. Be a solutionist, be genuine, follow up, and follow through. If we use those 3 P's, we're going to accomplish those 3 qualities that people are looking for from us. Okay, next, another idea here is the emotional audit. And this comes from another TED Talk that I show in my listening class. And it's about the power of listening. And a quote from William Ury, who is the one that does this TED Talk, is, if we listen a bit more, we can transform relationships. So we can transform relationships if we listen a little bit more. So William Ury, if you don't know who he is the co-founder of Harvard's program in negotiation. He is a world's best known, most influential expert on negotiation. He is a consultant to the White House, and he has some pretty amazing, cool stories of things that he has negotiated and with whom he's negotiated with around the world. And so one of his ideas, and one of the things he recommends, is this idea of preparing yourself for listening. And so we can call it an emotional audit. And prior to going into maybe a difficult communication session, again, whether it's with a customer or any other situation, one, again, where there might be high emotions, tensions are high, there's a big issue to resolve, to take a few minutes and just reflect on you. Do an emotional audit. What am I feeling right now? What do I want to happen? So what are my intentions going into this session? That's probably going to help us not focus on being right and not focus on being judgmental. And then what am I going to do? How am I going to manage this? Maybe it's my funnel questions. Maybe it's my TED questions. Maybe it's just breathing, right? And taking notes. So the idea here is we need to get present and we need to get out of our own way. Sometimes we get into our own way because it's going to be a lot more difficult to listen if we're distracted, if we're stressed, if we're tired, if we're hungry, right? So many different things can get in the way of listening. So if we can just take a moment and just get present and really think about my intentions and check ourselves, because we want to be going into these sessions with an open mind, remembering the 3 Ps, and remembering what people want from us, those 3 qualities, right? They want a solutionist, they want me to be genuine, and they want me to follow up and follow through. So that alone can sometimes make all the difference in whether a session, communication session is going to be successful or it's going to end in frustration. And the last tip I have for you are the 3 R's. And this can help us with our funnel questions. Remember, we had open, probe, and close. So the 3 R's can help us with the close of our communication session. And it's also related to listening because this is going to help ensure that the customer feels like they were heard. And so the 3 R's, we've got repeat, resolve, and review. This is going to also ensure clarity before we end this conversation. And customers want to know. They want to know what to expect and what they're going to get. And the 3 R's is going to accomplish that. So this is what it might look like. And remember, we're practicing the 3 Ps while we're doing this. We're being professional, we're being patient, and we're being people first. So repeat This is going to ensure that we are identifying the right solution. So Mrs. Johnson, I know we need to process the refund for you. Right? That's what the need is. This is the resolution. What I'm going to do is note the file, give you the money back, it's going onto this card, right? These are the steps that I'm going to take to solve this for you. And so here we're being a solutionist, right? And we're also doing the follow up and follow through. And then we're going to review with a close and, you know, maybe review the key points of the conversation that you've had from beginning to end. And always, always, always say thank you. Our grocery store manager did not thank us. So that was unfortunate. And little does he know, right? We were talking about like a $3 difference, but how much money, right, do we spend at the grocery store every week? So you want to be thanking your customers always. All right. So my question to you as we wrap up, what could asking the right question and focusing on listening do for your customer service efforts, do for your communication relationships in the workplace, with peers, with bosses, with vendors, with family, with friends? What could asking the right questions and focused listenings do? Win-win. Yeah, that's what we're creating, is a win-win. And it's not easy, right? So we have a comment here in chat. This is hard when someone is yelling out loud or yelling as loud as they can. Absolutely, it's hard, right? That's why this is a skill. That's why we've got classes. That's why it takes practice. That's why hopefully these tools, if you can find these tools and find a way to apply them, that they can maybe help you in those most difficult situations. Because it's not easy, right? It's not easy. But if we do it well, we are going to be gaining credibility, either as individuals or our department or our agencies, our organizations, and we're developing sustainability. Because without customers, right, if our business is focused on customers, or even in the public sector, right, our citizens who you're serving, if we don't do that well, we may not be needed, right? Our retail stores may close. Our agency may, you know, dissolve. Our job may go away, right? If we can't do this well and actually meet the needs of our customers. So again, this is just a snippet, a little preview of some communication tips that you'll find in the full day class, Support Staff Training, Maximizing Success. Unfortunately, the session isn't until November 4th, but Angelique has put in chat a list of quite a few other classes on CPS that I teach. And of course, you can expand on that link and see all the classes that CPS HR offers, because we do a lot of good stuff. And there's a lot of good skills out there to learn to help us be successful. So I wish you all success. We have another minute or two. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to respond. Otherwise, you all have a wonderful Friday and enjoy your weekends. And thank you for being with us today.
Yes, thank you, Antoinette, for that helpful presentation, and thank you again to everybody who joined us today. Just as a reminder, this has been recorded, and you can be sure to check our website at cpshr.us for the slide deck and the recording, and we will be here for another minute if anybody has any additional questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you all powerful communication successes. And maybe I can find that grocery store manager and have him attend a class.